How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today I have my tournament report for the UK London regional that happened this past weekend. It was a nice event. Bit of miscommunication about if it was sold out or not, because apparently there's an issue with the site and people buying more tickets than they actually needed. And unfortunately, it wasn't as big a turnout as we wanted, because unfortunately train strikes happened to be moved to that weekend, so a lot of people, there's quite a few people that bought a ticket, were trying to buy a ticket, and then we're aiming to go, but then couldn't go because the train strikes prevented them, which is a bit unfortunate. But we had just over 70 people, like 74, 75 players, which is a good turnout for a UK event, especially because it was London. Like I know some people decided not to go because of how expensive it could be. And for us as well, it wasn't too expensive. It wasn't that difficult to get to either, because we managed to book it at Primary and nearby. So it was very easy. We ended up getting coaching to try and avoid the rail strikes for the trains. So we got the coach down about like midday. Managed to get there by about 6. Easily then get to a station, get a tube because the tubes weren't affected by the strikes, and then get to our hotel. And then luckily our hotel had like a little bit of a shopping bit by us to just make sure we had food and drink and stuff, and then we just spent the time testing. It was able to easily get there Saturday and Sunday for the event, for the days. And for it as well, I was able to go X1, going 4-1 on Friday, because it was cut short because we were playing the 1 undefeated rule. So I ended after round 5 due to being 1 undefeated, because fortunately there was an issue with the draws, so quite a few people got draws, and that ended me putting me to 5th, because I only lost in Swiss to the eventual winner, and then faced him again in top 4 on the second day, and ended up having a better matchup than I did on the Swiss matchup, because it was the only second time I've played against the SS4 Gogeta deck, and then managed to still take a get off him, but then still eventually lost, which is and he went on to win it, which was well deserved, because Michael's a great guy, and he's been like fine-tuned his SS4 Gogeta deck, putting all the effort in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the list, go over like the decks, like what I was playing, which is Red Yellow Syn, which is basically the Red Syn Shenron deck, a new one with red yellow uses, card choices and stuff. And I'll go over the list, go over the individual cards and stuff to explain what are there and what was actually helpful, what was not, what changes I'd probably make. And then I'll go over the tournament, basically go over my tournament, because I did write down in between rounds how the round went, so I had a reminder for when I did this video. But before we do get into it, feel free to like the video if you do enjoy this. Comment down below if you have any questions, or if there's anything I didn't cover, any questions you have about the deck, and I'll answer them as best I can. And also, if you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe, because that keeps you updated with all my videos as and when they drop. And even if you click the notification bell, you get alerts as and when my videos drop as well. And it does help me, because it helps me get to helps me get to my goal of 1,000 subs, which I'm currently coming up to halfway there. And every 100 subs, I do a giveaway to say thank you to all my subscribers, because you're all lovely, and I'm just thankful that you subscribe to like my content. And when I get to 500 subs, I will detail with the giveaway exactly what I'll be doing when I hit my goal, which, trust me, you're gonna wanna see and want me to fulfill. So without further ado, let's get into the list and check out my list. So Red Syn Shenron is the new Syn Shenron. So we got the third deck for Syn, which is nice. Like, it took us all the way to Unison Warrior series to get a Syn deck. And now at the start of a brand new block, the Zenkai series, we're getting a Never Syn deck. But unlike the previous ones, we're not getting it over, getting bits of it and getting the full set deck over a few sets. We got all the whole stuff in one set, so you can play it straight from the get-go. And it's a very aggressive deck, which I like. I do love my aggro decks, and it also is red, which I do like my red decks. I do like some red decks. There's quite a fair few red decks I do like. And this one's quite easy. Like, it's really good in the gain advantage as well, because on the front side, it's similar to a Dragon Ball, like a Wish Leader in a sense, because you can gain advantage by like, and you gotta get the balls to help you flip over and stuff. But it does have a deck building requirement restriction as well, because the permanent on it says your deck can only include up to 6 Dragon Ball cards. So that's 6 because itself, the leader on the front side, is a Dragon Ball, it's the 1-star ball. So you have to get the other 6 balls. Like very thematic for the if you watch GT. And it also says you can't include non-red battle cards. That means any card, you can't include any card or any battle card in your deck and Z deck that doesn't have red on it. If it has red, like it's a multicolor, that's why you can play red-yellow, because it's got red on the card, you can play it. But if it's not got red on it as a battle card, you can't play it in the deck. So that restricts heavily in what cards you can play. Well, not too heavily, but heavily enough. And like, so it cuts you off like Overrealm, like black tech cards and stuff like that. And also is restricting what secret rare runs. Like you can't do what some decks do, like running the Pan and Kai secret rare to have useful utility in that. You can only run a red secret rare. And there's not the biggest selection of red secret rares, but there is a good selection at the moment. And it also has the same permanent similar to how most Shenron Wish decks do, where it can't attack, it's just a ball. But it's 10k instead of 1k, or 1, like some of the other old 1-star balls were. And it's got an active main to gain you advantage, similar to the old Shenron Star Deck 1, which you switch its card to rest mode, and you add 2 Dragon Ball cards from your deck and or life to your hand, and then shuffle the areas if you look through with the skill. And that is fantastic, because that gives you an edge that most decks don't have, which is being able to see what's in your life as well as through your deck. You can see what's in your life if there's something you need in your life that you need to grab hold of, or what's in your life, and yeah, just have not complete knowledge of where stuff is in your deck and life. And that was only restrictive to the Wish decks, but now this deck does have it as well. And with that, you don't really take life to awaken, because you do have an alternative awakening in the awaken as well, which is when your life's at 4 or less, or you have 6 or more Z energy, not balls, Z energy. That's what some people look to be confused by when I would awaken with 5 balls and a Z battle card in my Z energy. They think it's balls, but no, it's just 6 cards in your Z energy, and you can switch this card to active mode, up to 1 energy to active mode. So you're untapping 1 and restanding this, and that's relevant because most of the time the turn you're awakening, you're also going to be searching with the balls that turn. Like usually it's by turn 2 to get some like really good aggression this deck can put out. And yeah, so you potentially get at least minimum +4 from the lead in the first 2 turns, because you're at least searching 2 balls, and hopefully you've got some balls before that, so you can awaken turn 2, because that's the ideal awakening. And then you're flipping over, and then it's relevant that it restands itself, because now you can attack, because it's auto on the front side, on the awakened side. It's just when it's got attached to 1, so pretty basic, but allows you to get that advantage as well after flipping over. And you also now have an active main, so like the good thing, and one thing I love about this deck is that it's got something that only really Green had, which is like depleting unisons or removing markers off unisons. And it had a different way to doing it than Green, which is Green was just straight up remove the markers. Red, it was all about minusing power. That's the core thing about Red. So it's got the activate main of once per turn you choose one of your Shadow Dragon battle cards and up to one battle card or unison, and then the chosen cards gets 15k power for the turn. So you've got to have a Shadow Dragon. The only letdown about this is you got to have a Shadow Dragon on your board to be able to use this effect, but it's very easy to pull off, so it's not too much of a worry. And as well as that, you're minusing things by 15k, so you're triggering some of your cards which actually get a benefit when you negging them, which is mainly the big boss or some of the little weenier cards. And then you're just minusing 15k, which if unison's 15k and you minus it to 0, it then loses a Marco and resets his power, which is and that's how you like to just destroy unisons with this deck, which was a big draw in for me when I saw this. But that is the leader, so quite a lot of advantage. You like normally awaken with a ton of cards in your hand, like up to 12 potentially, like 10-12 cards in your hand, maybe even more, and then you just gain advantage by just swinging then, and some every cards can help you draw and gain the advantage too. So that's the leader. There's a Z leader, but I'll go into the Z deck after going for the main deck. So for now, the first thing is we've got the cracked Dragon Balls. So this is the balls you can use, because you can just search any Dragon Ball, but if you look at some of the old Dragon Balls, they require your leader to be a Shenron leader, which unfortunately Shadow dragons like Syn Shenron are not Shenron cards. They have Shenron in the name, but their trait is always a Shadow Dragon, not a Shenron. So you won't be able to use the old black ones. You have to use these cracked Dragon Balls, but these cracked Dragons will fine because they fulfill and they're with the Archetype and work so well. And that is mainly because they go straight into using energy. They allow you to set up and give busted cards like Rush Attack, SB Vegeta, which we're going over in a bit, a easy way to get its full effect off. So the cracked Dragon Balls, they have the Dragon Ball tag, and they have a permanent where if this card is in your Z energy, it only leaves your Z energy when you use for a Shadow Dragon Z energy cost. So that basically means at the moment, unless we get more Shadow Dragon Z cards, you can't send this from your Z energy to your drop to pay for Z cards unless it's a Shadow Dragon, which currently is only the leader, which is fair enough. It's fine. You just want to put them in there so you can fill the playing conditions and skill conditions for some of your cards, and it gains you advantage similar to how a normal Dragon Ball would, where if your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card, you draw one and add this card from your Z energy from your drop. And just remember that when you activate an extra card, extra cards aren't played, they're activated. So when you activate one, you reveal the card, pay the cost, and send it to the drop, and then resolve the field skill that way. So you reveal it, pay the cost, send it to the drop, and then fulfill the condition, resolve the effect. So in this case, you would show it 0 cost, so you don't pay any cost, and then send it to the drop, and then you would draw one and put it from your drop to using energy because it's not in your drop. And that is how it works. You play 6 of them because you can only play up to 6, and it's straight up draw. Normally you're going to want a mulligan for at least 1 or 2 of these in your hand, so you can awaken turn 2 easy enough. And then we have some of the I say 1-drops, so pseudo 1-drops. So we have Oceanus Shenron, Assembling Evil. We have Hey Shenron, Gathering Evil. And then we have Supernatural Shenron, Congregating Evil. So these were the 1-drops, pseudo 1-drops we played, because they all have the same permanent, where if your leader is, if your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card, you reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 1. All 3 of these have that effect. So they're technically 1-drops in your hand, but they're 2-drops on the board, which is actually quite nice, because if you have 2 on the board, if they were 1-drops and you swung against a green deck, you get them both wiped by Dormant. But that's not the case because they're actual 2-drops, but just reduced by 1. And being a 9k as well means they're under the amount to be able to just pressure lead without having the combo, and not weak enough to just get minus by effects that just minus things for 5k, which is nice. So the Oceanus and Haze, they have the same they have the same auto, which is if your leader is a Shadow Dragon card, when this card is played, you draw 1 card and then place up to 1 cracked Dragon Ball from your deck in your Z energy, then shuffle your deck. Now the draw is mandatory, but the add in the ball is not. So if you don't want to add a ball and want to keep, if you only got 2 left to search from your deck, and you want to play this, you can play this as just draw, but not send the Z energy, so you can get off your leader next turn. Or you can use this if you need to get 6 Dragon Balls and you're going to be missing 1 because you had 1 in hand, used leader effect 2 times, and need to put another 1 in there without, because you can't swing with the lead. Then you can always just play this, draw 1, put the last ball in Z energy. And then they do have useful activate skills as well. So Oceanus activate main, which is a way to give one of your Shadow Dragons barrier, and Haze is the one I think people don't really like in its deck, which is an activate battle skill, allows to give a Shadow Dragon card, a battle card, critical. So Oceanus is if your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card, your opponent has 3 or more energy, and you place this card from your hand or battle area in your drop. You choose up to 1 red Shadow Dragon card in your battle area, and it gains barrier until the end of your opponent's next turn. So it means when your opponent's on a 3rd turn, you're going to start chucking down barrier on one of your Shadow Dragons. They can make it harder to interact with. It's a very good card in the mirror match as well, and it's a nice card in general. And then we got Haze. Haze is the activate battle, so Oceanus, you have to do it before you even try to attack, but Haze you do it mid-battle, so if they negate the attack, you haven't wasted this, which is really nice about that. And his activate main, and also both the activate mains, the activate skills on these cards are limit 1, so you can only trigger 1 a turn, so you've got to be careful of that. You've got to think about what one you're going to use it on. And Haze is if your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card, and you place this card from your hand or battle area, from your drop area, choose up to one red Shadow Dragon card in your battle area and it gains critical for the turn. So, unlike Oceanus, Haze doesn't have an energy restriction for you or your opponent. You just, anytime, swing with a red Shadow Dragon, and you can either place it from drop, place it from board, or from hand in drop to give that card critical. And the great thing about playing from the drop is that if you were playing the Unison, you could play off the Unison. That plays it in rest mode, so you can then still use it. And playing it from drop, you can even, like if you need to, you can always just play it for one, to get a draw, and then use its effect when a something else swings, which is really nice. And we play full 4 copies of both of those because they're just such great cards to have. And then I'm playing 3 of the Supernatural Shenron. Like I'm not playing the Unison as I mentioned, but I'm still playing the Supernatural Shenron because sometimes if you don't want to play, sometimes these Oceanus and Haze cards are quite crucial in certain matchups, and you don't really want to be playing it and losing it to being KO'd or minus or anything or run over. So I play the Supernatural Shenron as another way to play something turn 1 to make use of your energy, but also gaining something. And it's a nice way to search for your Shadow Dragons as well. Like if you're missing a certain Shadow Dragon, you can look at top 5 to try and find one. Because it's basically a searcher where, when it's played, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and you can add to your hand from among them a red Shadow Dragon card with energy cost of 4 or less among them, or one red Unison with a special cost of 2 among them to your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So it means just turn 1, after you search your balls, you can play this, look at top 5 to try and find, like say, the Haze you're missing, the Oceanus missing, or one of the other ones we're going to see, as long as they're 4 or less, and add to your hand. It's very relevant, and then after that it's just a combo piece defensively to get that 6C energy if you need be, or use it to fulfill other effects as well, like minusing it to use the Leader's Awakened side. And then next after that, we have 4 copies of New Shenron, Tenacious Evil. So this one is a really nice one and extra draw power, right? Really good. I really love this one, and because he's got an activate main, which is how you're going to play it for cheap. You're not going to pay 2 for it. You don't really pay more than 3 energy for any Syn card in this deck. So his activate main is by paying 1 red if your leader is a Z leader. Yeah, if your leader is a Z leader or you have 6 or more Z energy, you can play this card from your hand. So you either have 6 or more Z energy or any Z leader, and you play this card from your hand for 1 red. That's very nice. So 1 energy for 15k is not too bad. But it's not just a 1 cost 15k, it's also draw power as well, and 2 attacks. So think of this card as if it had dual attack and a plus and a draw built into it. And that's because his auto, which is limit 1, is if your opponent has 2 or more energy, when this card is placed in a drop area from a battle area by one of your skills, play this card from your drop, then draw 1. So that's really good because you can, if your Leader's Awakened, you can essentially just play this for 1, swing 15, then use the Leader's effect to choose this Nova and one of their cards, their battle card of Unison, minus them both for 15k. This get miffed by 15k, then hit a trigger, as long as your opponent's got 2 energy of course, and play itself back in active mode and draw your card, and then you can swing it again. So you can get 2 attacks out of this and a draw, and for barely any cost, which is amazing. And play full 4 copies of this because it's really good. And remember as well, if you can minus on your opponent's turn by one of your skills, then you can get that effect again to play it back and act like say if it's in rest and you use a skill to minus it down to 0. You can then play it back in active mode, so you can use the combo power just to escape being attacked into, and then draw a card in your opponent's turn, which is great. It's just so good. And then we get onto probably one of the strongest cards in the deck, and that is the one, like the card that makes one of the strongest plays in there, and that is the 4-drop Syn Shenron Dread Destroyer. Now this card is, I would say, the issue for this deck. Like some people might disagree, but this 4-drop is the issue for Syn that people are experiencing because it's a 4 cost 20k, but you don't have to pay 4 for energy for it. You could pay 1 because its activate main is limit 1, so you can only play 1 of these a turn, which is fair enough. But if it survives until next turn, you can just never and just have 2 of these on board. You pay 1 at red energy, and if your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card, and your leader is a Z leader, or you have 6 or more Z energy, you draw 1 card, and then play this card from your hand. And it's got double strike as well, so essentially for 1 energy, you are playing this out as a 20k double striker and drawing a card to replace it. So you've lost nothing from hand, apart from if we lost nothing from hand and just paid 1 energy and drop a 20k double strike. And not only that, it has an auto, which requires you to choose one of your Ever Shadow Dragon cards and KO them, because Syn is always like taking advantage and just using the Evers as weapons or like just fuel for himself. And it's when this card attacks, you choose up to one battle card or unison card, and it gains minus 20k power until the turn. So even more ways than minus a unison. And like using just this card alone and use its auto, you can get 3 markers off a 20k or less unison, which is fantastic. But this is where the probably one of the strongest plays, or the strongest play in the deck comes from, is just on turn 2. You can play this out because, well, as long as you've got the 60 energy, and then you can swing your opponent's lead using the haze to make it crit. And when they're on 1 energy and you've gone first, and you swing it a 20k crit, or even chucking down any combo power like a 5k or 10k to make it 30k or 25k double strike crit, that's going to be hard to combo out of without wasting a lot of hand. And that is where one of the things that people are not enjoyed about Syn is that you can just do that, and if you win the die roll, you've got 1 energy to try and defend against that, which is unreal. And then we have the big boss of the deck, which is the Omega Shenron, Unfeeling, I think, was it? It's Unbridled Retribution, or Unfeeling Retribution? Yeah, Unfeeling Retribution, that's the one. And this is a beast of a boss card. A really nice thing I like about it is some of these boss cards now is that they are 0 cost 5k, not 1 cost 10k, so you can still combo them off if you need be, without having to pay energy and stuff like that. So you don't have boss cards that are dead in your hand. And it is an 8 drop 30k with deflect and triple strike. So 8 drop with deflect means it's out the range of all those free counter plays, and triple strike means it's forcing through 3 damage or 3 markers of a unison. So a nice little permanent to help with the mirror match, which is if this card's power would be reduced, it gains 5k power instead until the end of your next turn. And then if this happens, you negate the skill until the start of the next turn. So it just means if it will be minus in a turn, it gains 5k instead, and then you negate this permanent for the turn. Then when it goes to the next turn, either from yours to your opponent's, or opponent's to yours, it then loses the 5k and the permanent's back and live. And not only that, it has a activate main, which is a way to cheat in cheap, and a very, very, very strong activate battle. So his activate main is limit 1 for 2 red energy. If your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card or red Z leader and you have 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand. So essentially for 2 energy, once you have 3 or more energy and have a red Shadow Dragon or red Z leader, you can play this out for 2 as a 30k double strike with deflect. It's ridiculous. Absolutely busted, I feel. And then it's got a very strong activate battle, which is probably the only way really how you can minus Nuova in your opponent's turn to be able to trigger the effect to replay itself and draw. And that is by activate battle once per turn. Choose up to 1 battle card or unison card, and it gains minus 3k power for the turn for each card in your Z energy. And then additionally, if your leader is a Z leader, choose up to 1 battle card or unison, and give it minus 30k power for the turn. So if you're Z range, you get the 30k plus however much the energy times minus 3k, and if you're not, you're normally gonna have at least 6, maybe 7 Z energy to do chunk things quite a bit, minus them through. And yeah, so this just allows you to just, as you can see, these battle cards just able to, well, along with the leader, just with a chunk through and just minus down unisons. So people can't keep no one really can keep a unison on board against a red Syn deck for like more than a turn really, unless they've got a floodgate or some way to like prevent a lot of attacks. And the great thing about this is that you can always use the leader's effect to minus the 8 drop and one of your opponent's cards to give it that 5k boost for the turn offensively, which is never a great use. If we play full 4 copies, so why wouldn't you for just a great boss card? And then next we have 2 copies of Brody Crown of Retribution. Like, this is one that most people know, and it's been rumored to be getting a errata because of the fact that people have been like squinting really hard to see the because it's in the pricing for the finals, and people have been really squinting to try and see if there's a difference. Nothing's confirmed yet by Bandai, but it's rumored to be its effect is rumored to go to requiring your opponent to have 2 open energy to 3 open energy. But we played this because it's such a great card, and as you know, I hate blue, and this is a great card against blue. And then we also had 2 Resolve Renewed. I go ready to like stop because I'm not running the Unison in the main, so I don't have a way to really like Omen of Awakening to be able to stop things coming in. That's quite high, so I got this Vegeta Resolve Renewed to help stop certain floodgates because it hits most. It's just too like with being Toppo and the blue Vegeta that it doesn't hit. So it's a handy card to help stop floodgates so you can keep passing through. That are battle cards anyway. We play 2 copies of each of those because space, and I want to make space for the red-yellow stuff. Speaking of red-yellow, it all starts off with this super combo, the Beerus one. So as I said before, I think I said before anyway, with Red Syn it can awaken at quite high life depending on how many times you get hit and also how many balls you have in your energy in your life. But so sometimes you can awaken at high life and your opponent might not go for your life, and that means that if you've got any super combos in your hand, they're just dead cards in your hand at the moment until you go down a lot lower. And most people are trying to control your board because the board is like quite a threat, and if they leave it there, they're going to have it there plus more for next turn. And Beerus is a great one because it's one of the few multicolored cards that actually draws a card, gains advantage. Because its effect is if your leader is red or yellow, when this card is used in the combo from your hand, you reveal the top card of your deck and add it to your hand. If the revealed card is a red card, this card gains 5k power for the battle because it's a base 0 plus 5k. So if you reveal a red card off it, it becomes a 10k combo. And if it was a yellow card, you use it to one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode and it gets minus 5k power for the battle. As any card, be a battle card, unison, or lead. So if you reveal a red, it's a 10k combo. If you reveal a yellow, then if the card attacking you or the card you're attacking is in rest mode, you can minus that card by 5k or something else by 5k for the battle. But if you hit a multicolor, you get both the 5k combo, extra combo, and the minus 5k of a rest card your opponent controls. So you can get between, mostly you're going to get 10k from either effect. You're mostly going to hit a red the majority of the time. But if you hit a multicolor, you get a 15k difference, which is strong, and you get even more chances of this in this deck because we're running more red-yellow than just a super combo. So we're obviously playing for that super combo because it's just that great. And to go with that, we do have a copy of Sidra and Mojito, the God Checkland from Draft Box 5, I think it was. So we're playing this because we're playing a card that's going to help us push through this 8-drop here. Because what the game plan of the deck, like the finish off, is to have this 8-drop down, chuck on the Oceanus, give it barriers so it's hard to interact with, because barrier makes it like so it's got that nice little bit of protection. And we want to make sure that attack gets forced through. So we've got a card needed, but we just need this like a multicolour in energy to make sure we've got, or at least one yellow card in energy. And we don't really want to be charging a mono yellow card because most of the cards require red energy to play, and that's going to cut you off like an energy, set you back. So we are playing one copy of Sidra and Mojito, Universal Land Destroyer and Angel. So it's a check land because it's got a permanent where when placing this card in your energy from any area, you may choose one red card and one yellow card in your drop area and send them to the warp. And if you do, you negate this card's energy is all skill. So that's the only thing that matters. You're not going to play an activate main, so we're not going to go over that. It's more that if you have a one red and one yellow card in your drop, when you charge this from your hand, you can warp those 2 cards, red and yellow card from your warp, to ignore the energy source that comes in active to still use. And then that gives you access to still a red energy and also a yellow energy for a card we're going to see in a bit. I only play one because I only technically have one, and I felt you only needed one for this because you draw so much from your deck. I drew so much from my deck for the entire weekend that I normally always saw this unless it was in my life. And if it was in my life, there was a chance I can get it off by taking a life from being attacked and stuff. And then a secret of choice, and I think the last battle card in the deck, is our SSB Vegeta Umbrella Power. So this, as I said, being restricted to just red battle cards means you've restricted a new secret rare, so you can't play Kai or Pan. And the new Vegito is locked to only being really usable with mono red Saiyan leads. This is our leads not Saiyan, we can't use that. And considering the low amount of red secret rares you got that are playable, this is is easily the best one to play in the deck. So we play it in the deck. And then next card we got 2 copies of Iron Rays. I wish I did now put this at the 3, or at least put a third in my side. I just left it at 2. I don't know why. I can't remember. I was go through my side in a little bit, but for some reason I decided not to put a third one in, which kind of did cost me in Top Cup or against the SS4 matchup. But in future I would have 3 of them in. I wasn't meaning to, so I felt 2 in the main was enough. But I should have probably started a third one. This is a great floodgate, especially for this upcoming current format. And then we have 3 copies of Dragon Thunder. So this is a yellow card because you do need a fair bit of yellow to pull off this to make sure you got the cards to be able to force through this 8-drop triple strike. And Dragon Thunder is a really good thing if you need to defend, because once you get turn 3, it gives you the option where you can tap out and not have much fear about being aggroed by like a wide board. And that is specifically the reason because it's permanent. It's permanent is how you're able to play it for free. Because if you have 3 or more energy in rest mode, you can activate this card from your hand without paying its energy costs. So that's just 3 cards in rest mode. So and that's not just either player's turn. It's just either player's turn. If you've got 3 cards in rest mode, 3 energy in rest mode, you can play this for free. And that's really good. And I didn't see many of the other Syn decks actually playing this card, even though it's snapped. It's like a really good card for a Syn, especially being a free 5k boost. Because what its activate main / battle does is if your leader is a red Shadow Dragon card, that's the cost. This is the cost. You need a Shadow Dragon card. Then you choose up the one Shadow Dragon card in your leader area or battle area, and it gives 5k power for the turn. And if you paid the energy cost to activate the skill, you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and negate the skills from the turn. Now this is so important because it's how I basically finished off and soared from top 8 to top 4, and it's just fantastic because being defensively, because if you got free energy you can tap out and then use this for free to give your leader a 5k boost for the entire turn, making your leader a 20k leader when you're awakened, or if you're Z awakened, a 25k leader, which is very hard to get over unless you're putting a lot of energy into it. So your opponent's going wide, you can like make it easier to survive those hits. And the fact you can tap an energy to do the same thing, give energy and then negate your skills on your opponent's cards for the turn, means if your opponent's like running in you with a like a card that's got double, triple, or quad strike, you can turn that off and just take the 1 hit if need be, or use it to combo out. Yep. Or in the mirror, just basically turning the skill off your opponent's 8-drop and then using your 8-drop to minus it to death is another great way to use it. So we run 3 of that because the yellow card we do want, and it is just great utility. Probably one of the 2 best cards in this deck. And then we got 3 copies of Testing Opposition. There's Great Negate. Like even though you don't go down, can't control your life much. It's just a nice way to be able to negate some attacks. You do want to stop some attacks. Every deck since SS4 has got that Vegito Secret Rare needs token negate, because when they can just get you down to 4, drop that, look at your hand to see what you've got in there, rip out a super combo and a swing with a quad strike Secret Rare. You need to have a token negate to be able to stop it, because if you want to stop that and go down to 3, especially in this, if your opponent puts you to 4, using this to negate that attack, put you down to 3 and give you a token is really handy, because 3 life is where you need to be for your Z leader. So you definitely need 3 of this. Might have even wanted to put 4, but 3 I felt was enough in the main. Then the last card, and basically probably the MVP of this deck outside of Dragon Thunder, is 3 copies of Almighty Resistance. Now you may be wondering what this card is, because it's not a card that comes up often and a card you see or really see in any deck, but I feel is going to be a strong card coming in future, and really good with a nice little package you can put in almost any red leader deck. It is a 2 cost extra red yellow extra card. It requires a red and a yellow to play, and it's a counter, and its counter skill is if your leader card is red and you choose 1 yellow card in your hand and place it in your drop area. That's what we need, quite a bit of yellow, and we have got quite a bit of red yellow in here. You negate your counter attack skill, and that's it. You just negate your counter attack skill. So the main way I was trying to finish off games in this deck was to drop down the 8-drop for 2 energy, or get the turn 4, drop down the 8-drop or have it already on board for 2 energy, give it barrier with Oceanus, use the leader's effect to minus it and minus one of their cards by 5k to make it 35k, and then swing with it, and making sure I've cleared off their blockers as well by them. And then if they negate the 8-drop swing, you can All Might Resistance, just pay 2, ditch a yellow card, and then stop that counter attack, and then the attack still goes through because you're stopping their negate on it. And one of the things I found with this is that since red has the SSB Vegeta, which means that you just have to put down 1 life to finish them off the secret rare, people were afraid to go from 4 to 3, so sometimes they would be on 4 life and not want to deal with this 30k triple strike, the big 30k triple strike, put them down to 1 in fear of the secret rare, that they would token negate or use a negate to take life to negate the attack, and then I would All Might Resistance, negate that counter, and now they put themselves in kill range by trying to use a token negate to stop the attack. And then that would just be going all in and finish them off that way then, and they just out of that fear, which is great. Or if you don't, and you put them from 4 to 1, you don't have to survive the next turn, which you can do very easily with Raise and Dragon Thunder, and then drop the secret rare next turn and finish them off. And that was the entire main deck. I kept it at 50 because I just wanted to make it as consistent as possible to see the cards I wanted. And if I added more cards, as you know, the more cards, less consistency. And yeah, that was it took me all the way to a top 4 finish at the London regionals. So quickly we'll go for the Z deck. So the Z deck, I had 1 copy of the Z leader because it's just great. Just win your last 3 or less, and your opponent has 3 or more energy. You're basically you put on the top of Red Syn lead for free. By sending 7 cards from your Z energy to your drop. You've got still at the auto when it's actually draw a card. And now your activate main is upgraded, where now instead of doing 50 minus it by 15, you minus by 20, and you then get the extra effect to remove from game the 6 Dragon Balls in your drop area that you hopefully have, and then play 1 Shadow Dragon card from your hand, any 1 Shadow Dragon card. Like I was able to finish off a game where, because I think in my first round, well I'll go over into a bit, I was able to, you can play any Shadow Dragon with that. I was able to play a Nova Shenron off it to help finish off a game from my first round, which was very useful. I play a full 4 copies of Rush Attack SSB Vegeta because the card is snapped. Just 2 energy to potentially get a 20k swing and a 30k double strike barrier swing is amazing. And given the fact that you can only send the balls from your Z energy to pay for a Z cost of a Shadow Dragon card, being at the moment just the leader, we need to get 2 extra Z energy, and then you've always got those 4 to make sure the activate main's available to trigger, because that requires you to have 4 more Z energy, which you'll have 6, or hopefully 6 balls in your Z energy to make sure this always is able to trigger. And it's even more Unison Hate as well, because when it attacks, you choose up to 1 mono red card with a 5k combo power from your drop and combo with it with the skills negated, and then you get to choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards or Unison cards and minus 15k for the turn. So it's just fantastic. I like a red staple Z battle card until we get more potential options. And then to try and help, another way to help me get my opponent down from, if I had a 8 drop out already, from 4 to 3 to have them in kill range for the 8 drop, I played SS4 Son Goku, Defender of Life. Now the only thing relevant about this is the auto, or maybe the skills. There's a 2 cost 3 Z energy Z battle card that has Deflect and Double Strike and 20k, and as also when this card is played, you place up to one Saiyan card from your drop area under this card, so that's either the Broly or the Vegeta Z battle card, and if your opponent has 4 or more life, you deal 1 damage to them. So you put them from 4 to 3, and then they're in kill range for the 8 drop. And you played 1 SS4 Gogeta Unison Z leader, just to have it in there. So if I need to check how much Z energy my against the SS4 matchup, how much Z energy needed for the Z Awaken, I can always check my Z deck, and there it was there. That's the reason I put that instead of this another copy of the SS4, because I thought the one SS4 was enough. And then from my side deck, the only thing I regret about the side deck was putting in 3 Yamchas. Yamcha was useless, never used it at all, and yeah, it was a pointless card. It should have been probably a 3rd Violent Raise, or even 2 more Violent Raise, and a or something useful, maybe like 2 Vegito, 4 drop Vegito units set 10, and a third rant raise. But I decided in the Unison package, which is 4 of the SS4 of Gogeta, Power Connection, Piccolo, and Omen Awakening. Just the extra units package. I'll take out the red-yellow stuff to side that in, but I would only do it if I was going first, because I thought the units is only relevant and useful if you're going first, because otherwise you're just wasting energy to establish something that's just going to get removed, especially in the mirror match, or against other decks that aren't red. Because especially at Awakening at higher life, they're going to be attacking you to Unison, getting free swings, and triggering their autos to remove it very easily, and makes it pointless. But if you're going first, you would do this turn 2, have the 4 drop out, do the double strike crit, and basically just put some pressure on. And when they're on turn 2, trying to get rid of it, it's going to be a lot harder for most decks from that point. And an extra Brody Crown, because it's just a great card. Put a fair copy in because the text space in the main. Then you got Mai for some blue hate, and sometimes against certain decks, like main red decks, I'd side out the 2 Brody in main, 40s to Mai, because at least that way there'd be a cantrips that gave me a card rather than just 1-drops that's never going to be used, because against red no one's going to really want to try and leave energy open, or 2 energy open against you. And then we had 2 SSB Kaiken Son Goku, Concentrated Destruction, for barrier removal, because this deck doesn't really have any barrier removal, and barrier kind of hurts the deck. So we got 2 copies of that decided in against decks that we knew were going to have barrier hate, well, barrier cards that we wanted to hate on. So that was the deck I used, and getting me top 4. So with the matchups, so I played against in Swiss 2 SS4 Gogetas, a Gamma, a yellow starter Goku, Ape Goku, and then 1 Red Syn. So for the first round I played against SS4 Gogeta, ended up winning that, going 2-1, because I think for that one I lost the die roll, so I was going second, and I essentially just tried to pressure the leader to 1 so I can use my secret rare. So that was the game where I try to keep my energy open, not use my energy, and use my leader's effect to minus off a, because he didn't have many cards in hand, so I used my leader's effect, my Z leader's effect to, because I had 2 double strikes on board. I had my leader's double strike and the 4 drop, and he had 2 life, and I thought if I tried to push him down to go with double strike, he'd just see awaken, and it'd be a lot harder, because I didn't think I could survive the next turn. So what I tried to do is just push that through that 1 damage. So I used the leader's effect to minus a Shadow Dragon by 20k, and one of his cards by 20k, to play out a Nuova, swing the Nuova, which was met with a Imposing Presence, and left him, I think, with like 2 free cards in hand. So I swung with my Resolve Renewed I had on board, come off the token I had on board, and all my 5k's in hand to go up to like 50k, I think it was. And he took the hit from that. Didn't so the awaken, I didn't have the combo, didn't go to Z Awaken, because he was tapped out. He was tapped out, so he could go for it. And then I just dropped the secret rare and finished the game off them. And then game 2 I was going second, and he was able to drop an 8-drop, clear my board and put some pressure. And then he went ahead and used a Z leader, Z Awakened to swing a Z Awaken, push through another damage to put me to 3, and leave it so the 8-drop was still there. And I ended up losing because I didn't have enough combo power to survive a second 8-drop combo, because you can't do anything against it. You need combo power, which I did not have. And then game 3, I just went first, started in the Unison package to help me pressure, so I can go turn 2 Unison, put that pressure on, and I just pressured enough that with the Unison that he could not come back, handle it and come back from it. So then I ended up starting off 1-0 with 1 win. And in round 2 in Gamma, getting against Rob from Team TBL, a great guy, great player, playing Gamma. For game 1, Almighty Resistance put in work, stopping his floodgate negates. I just kept using that to basically, what I aimed to do for that matchup is just force into his Unison, get rid of it to make sure it wasn't there, so he couldn't gain advantage, and so the 4-drop Android 18 wasn't live to pay for 1 energy to stop my 4-drop from coming out. And I think won the die roll as well. So just get forced in Unison, all my resistance, and Resolve renewing his Floodgate Android 14, and is pressuring the Unison, then pressuring crit on lead, and just over one pressure of that and going first, just easily finished off game 1. And then for game 2, it was similar to game 1, but I had three balls in life, making me able to use my token and gates and stuff to like stop attacks and take some attacks to get on the free easier, and basically help power off the units to keep it off board and just put pressure. And it put it to a point where I was able to, give my drop an 8 drop and keep giving it barrier, so you couldn't get rid of it even if he had Cell in his ZNG. And having Cell there with barrier, Omega there with barrier, meant if he did go into Cell, he wouldn't be able to touch the 8 drop. And as soon as he swung, I just minus off the Cell, and he'd waste like one big play to do that and not be able to do much else. And then just basically just overpowered over time. So after round 2, I was 2-0. Then round 3, I went against Starter Yellow Ape Kigu. That was against Adam Porter from Team BL, a never great player and great guy. All the Team BL, TM BL guys are just great people. And for game 1, I just once again won the die roll, pressured hard like Redstone does, and just outvalued and just pushed through. Because he couldn't really, that plus with more my resistance meant he couldn't like really defend himself to stop me from just pushing him. And then for game 2, he was able, he sided in the slug, and I didn't side in the SSB forgetting a slug was there. So managed to drop the one-drop slug, showing that he had slug in there. So I was like, okay, I have to use my. Normally I would hold off to get my balls and play them all in one go. So I was just making sure from turn 1, get the balls, use them as well, because normally the best way to use the balls is just hoard them until you got enough to just drop them all. Because otherwise, if you use the balls until never ball, you're not getting much use off your leader unless you can't get all 6 balls by turn 2. So I just made sure to use them so that way I wasn't losing out cards from slug. And turn 2, he was able to establish slug, but he wasn't able to find a 1-drop Yamcha or a barrier battle card to get on board to make slug live. So what he ended up having to do was establish the Unison and then use a counterplay Goku to stop have slug live. But then all I had to do was play a Nuova, swing a slug to try pressure, which you would have to block because I would otherwise just minus it anyway, and then turn slug off and then just keep drawing and just keep pressuring the slug, not worry about his lead, just pressure the slug to deplete his hand that he wanted to try to protect it, and ended up pushing through, and he just couldn't find a barrier card to go with slug, and ended up just crumbling after that. And in round 2, I ended up going round 4. I was then paired against in the mirror, playing versus Red Syn, piloted by Giovanni Casvani, a never great guy, a great player as well, a big Syn lover as well. Like he's either normally on this or on the Yellow Syn. He used to be on the Yellow Syn before this one, and I think he was mentioning that currently in this format, you can't really play the Yellow Syn deck; it just gets destroyed by red. And another one where I won the die roll, and unfortunately with this matchup, Gio had some of the worst luck I've ever seen anybody have. Why I had a godly luck in it. So I think for game 1 he ended up having 2 balls in life and didn't go for them for game 1. So I was able to turn 2, drop my 4-drop, swing, put in some pressure with crit, which he ended up having to take. And unfortunately one of the life I crit was one of his balls, so he had a harder time trying to get the 60 energy to awaken without being pushed down to 4. I think he ended up then getting pushed down to 4 and have to awaken by just normal means. And he ended up being there on less advantage than me, and just the red yellow version the superior version be able to just take win it from there. And then for game 2 he ended up having 3 balls in life, so he was taking more life than us, while I just had no balls in life and just stayed at 8 life, and was able to just out advantage him having the superior build and list, and just powered through and just crushed him. It wasn't even a close game. I even said afterwards that I was going to offer a good game, but it was not a good game for him, just due to his insanely bad luck. And that led me to come to the last round 5, where I was paired against Michael from Team 9 Life. Shouts to Michael and Team 9 Life. Michael's just a great guy and deserved to win in the end. yeah, because you put in so much work with it. And this and with my first game against first round, because the first round was the first time I played SS4. I just had the notion that it was like quite a mid-range deck. It was didn't do much in the first few turns, and would do stuff in like later turns, like turn 3 or 4, to be able to actually do stuff. But Mike proved me wrong, and just like showed how my view from the first round on SS4 was massively warped, because he managed to just, I lost a die roll and he just aggroed me as if it was the mirror match, and and just kept pushing, and just outclassed me. So game 2, I started in the units and stuff to help, because I was going second, to try and give me that good use of the unison as well, to try and pressure stuff and trying to lead some attacks away from my lead. And I managed to survive and go out, get to a point where we were really low on deck in the end. But unfortunately, all my super combos were at the bottom of my deck in the last 5 cards. So I was able to survive off, but not put any pressure back using super combos and swings, because they were at the bottom, and then where they're at the bottom, I had to keep using them to survive the last few hits, which ended up making me draw and deck out at the end. So due to that and the excessive amount of draws we ended up ending it after 5 rounds, and I ended up placing 5th, put me in the top 8, the playoff for day 2. And already by just topping, I fulfilled more than I set out to do, because I was just there to have fun for Saturday and focus on Team Wars. So I got my the pricing for top up to top 16. So that was end up the Jiren map, which I should have got at UKG, but were sent the wrong ones. So I finally got the Jiren map that I've been wanting, and I should have got in the first place, and got the top 16 and 32 cards of Frieza and the Great Saiyaman. And I was a little bit sad from being 5th at the end, because I was like, oh, I missed out on top 4 by 1 slot. That doesn't feel great. But then finding out on the Sunday that the top 4 prizing was for day 2, so I still had a chance to try and redeem myself and get top 4. So I put my focus onto winning top 4, and that was all I wanted to do, just win top 4, the winners top 8 to get to top 4. And I didn't really care what happened after that, because I got the top 4 prizing, which is my aim for day 2. So for the top cut, there were 4 red Syn decks. I think they're mostly mono red, for me and Josh playing red yellow. I think he was playing more mono red, siding into red yellow. And 3 SS4 Gogeta and 1 yellow trunk, spited by Joe. Joe Dunform, great player, showing like it's not just red that can do well. And I was unfortunately the only mirror match playing against an Red Syn, so like at least guaranteeing that Red Syn got into top 4. And once again, I ended up winning the die roll and pressured as hard as I could. Just pumping down, out-resourced him massively, and just, he couldn't just keep up and just go and straight to game 2. And game 2, he went first, did his stuff, and what I made sure to do, because what I normally like to do for the mirror match if I'm on second, is try and mulligan for a Violent Raise or a super combo, so I can out combo or like thrive off the turn 2 Syn, and then drop it myself next turn, and just to avoid that, because that's the worst thing. Normally what's going to happen in the red Syn deck is they're going to put the haze on the 2-drop rather than 8-drop, because 8-drop you're just normally going to negate, and the 4-drop is what can come down a little bit earlier to put that critical pressure, with double strike at least as well. And so I'm only going to try and see if I can find my raise, which I think I found my raise to help negate the 4-drop swing. No, I didn't find a raise, and we're just like, right, just trying to out combo, or trying to out combo with some super combos on the 4-drop swing. But he ended up not having a haze to put any crit on anything, but he was able to aggro me down and push me all the way down to 2 life, because I didn't want to waste combo power on things that weren't crit. And he ended up putting me down to 4 and then aggro me down, because I think I had 1 or 2 balls in life. I think it might have been 1. No, I think it might have been 2. And he puts like a few swings to put me down to 2. And I stayed at 2 life throughout the whole time. And I think I think he had a secret rare quite early, so he's trying to push me down to 1 life, so he can just get the turn 4 and finish off the secret rare. But since I played the same secret rare, and I basically asked them I share the same fear with red, as I don't want to go down to 1 because the secret rare could easily just drop to finish me off. And since I was going second, he was going to easily be able to get to turn 4 before I did. I just held on to make sure I didn't go into 1, using negates and super combos to defend, hold off. And it got to a point where he tried to push through with his lead to put me down to 1 and finish the secret rare, but he couldn't. I was able to out combo it and defend, having my Z leader awaken before his, and as well having all my super combos and raise to help defend it off. So it ended up being that he required to, I was able to get the check land, the charge for my turn 3 to have that live as well by Dragon Thunder, and ended up coming down to he was getting quite low in hand and wanted to try and finish me off before I got to my turn 4 to pressure, and decided to, instead of dropping secret rare, and just try and push through with that, hoping I didn't have the raise, which I didn't. He decided to pay 2 to drop the, because he didn't have any dragon. I've made sure to clear off all his shadow dragons off board, so he couldn't use the Z leaders effect to free play an 8 drop. So he paid 2 to drop the 8 drop, and then it proceeded to use the leader's effect to minus it to boost it, because I had an 8 drop on my board that was barrier, so he couldn't touch mine. So he decided to not use the leader's effect on the shadow dragon to just play it, and then swung with it. I didn't negate. Pay 1 the combo off his secret rare to go to 40k. To try, I think I never combo to put like to a high amount, because I think I already used all my super combos to try and defend and hold off being put down to 1. And since he didn't have the ocean to put barrier on it either, so I literally just activated, paid 1 to activate my Dragon Thunder, give my leader a 5k boost to help survive the next, like any more attacks that turn a bit easier. Negate the skill on his 8 drop, and then use my 8 drop to minus a 30k to finish off, so it couldn't, so its permanent wasn't live to just kill it. And then I think at that point he had only 3 cards in hand, and didn't have a shadow dragon on board to be able to minus potentially an 8 drop if he had an 8 drop. So he just proceeded past my turn. I just passed my charge, swung on my 8 drop, and just straight up showed him the all might resistance to his violent raise, and then put everything into my combo with him only having 2 cards in hand on 3 life. He couldn't deal with that and just, yeah, dropped. So I was able to push through and get the top 4 in the mirror match. Like, mirror match seems quite easy as long as you know what you're doing with it, and red yellow with the like Dragon Thunder all my resistance seem to puts in a lot of work and gives the edge in that matchup. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet Michael again in the finals. We had to meet in top 4 instead. And thanks to Josh from Deck Planet being able to give me a little advice from playing in the turn before of how he knocked a game off him, because I think he was the first one to knock a game off him all day, and gave me a bit of advice about how to combat the try and go through. So got sat down to play it, and unfortunately I lost the die roll again against him, so he continued to win the die roll and steamrolled me. It was a little bit, it was near enough the same as it was in Swiss, but when it came to game 2, I made sure to side in my units and stuff again, and side in a little bit different and play a little bit differently to how Josh advised. And I went first, managed to apply enough pressure to put him down to 1 quite quickly, and then fulfilled the secret rare because I was still quite high life, was trying to manage my board after I went first, trying to make sure I didn't have that much pressure to keep going through. So just managed to clear my board, didn't give me any life, so I was still at like 7 life, or 7 or 8 life, and managed to just show my secret rare. Went straight to game 3, and then game 3 was a constant back and forth, putting us to, and ended up putting us to like, I think he had 5 cards left in the deck and I had 4, and it got to a point where he had his 8 drop on board, and he still had a chance to use a secret rare. So I knew if I swung with this that turn, I'd already used all my super combos. No, I think I used, yeah, mostly all my super combos, and I know if I swung, he's going to be able to easily be able to tap himself out to then Z awaken to keep the 8 drop round, which I wouldn't have been able to combo out. So I think I'm about to turn 6 by this point. I decided to drop an 8 drop, use leader's effect to minus my 8 drop to drop a never 8 drop using the Z leader's effect, and then play out a unison to try to see if I can find my last raise, which unfortunately from the top 3 cards in my deck, it wasn't among them. And to kind of hold off to see if I can survive this next turn and not deck out, I decided not take anything and left it there. And then I still had 2 energy open because I had in my hand a Dragon Thunder, which I can use for free, a Token Negate, and a 1-drop Syn, 4-drop Syn. I was set to play the 4-drop Syn, but I was worried that if he, like, he had the another 8-drop, or he either had an 8-drop and could kill me next turn and it was over, or not. And I decided to keep 2 energy open just in case I wanted to use a Token Negate by hardcasting it, because still being at free life. I had that opportunity, so I didn't play the 1, and I didn't want to draw more from my deck to try and potentially deck out, so I just left that for combo power in my hand. So he got to his turn, and he charged his 7th energy, and dropped Brody Crown to see what I had in hand, and rip out my 4-drop Syn. And then proceeded to just go ahead with dropping the Vegeta Z battle card, giving it Barrier swinging, which I had to take the hits because I couldn't. So if I took a negate, it's just going to get rid of the blocker from that. And so I just took that, and then proceeding to not see an Everfighter raise. And I knew that just from that point on, I'm down to 1. I can use 2 energy and token negate, but they're just it swinging will then remove the blocker, and then you can just swing with lead and go to Z lead, and that's it. What I was hoping to find was for that game 3 was my Violent Raise, because I had my Violent Raise, I could have negated that attack, made it so you can't attack with any more battle cards at 20k or more to like hold off that pressure battle cards, and then not worry about his leader swing. Like if he swings his leader, put me down from 3 to 2, and his turn having 2 8-drops and stuff on board. Apply a load of pressure to him to try and finish him off, or at least force through a Violent Raise, and then drop my free in deck in my Z deck of the Vegeta Z battle card, because I had a load of Z energy, and to like kind of go under raise and just keep applying through 20Ks, keep pushing through, and try and put him down to force out a Z lead. Because if I force out a Z lead, I would have cleared this board while forcing out a Z lead, leaving him not be able to play anything the next turn. Have the token negate to take a life to negate attack, so I would have had 6 energy and use them more from Vegetas, and then next turn be able to finish him off. But unfortunately, Raise was the last card in my life, so yeah, that's where I should have had 3, like Michael did advise as well. You should be playing at least 3 because of how the format is at the moment. So I ended up finishing day 1 in 5th place, and then finishing day 2 in the top 4. And yeah, had a load of fun. And my team as well, they did end up coming 6th in Team Wars to get himself a box between them, which was quite good. But unfortunately, they only had Ultimate Showdown and not the new set, which was did suck, but it was a decent set with some decent secret rares in there as well. And had a great weekend. So focusing now on sorting out stuff to go to finals in the Netherlands for Europe, which is we're all like working out booking it now to get it all sorted, and then for the next few weeks and just be focused on testing. But that is my experience. It was a great weekend. OPE organized. I hosted a great event once again, like they did with UKGE, and I hope they host more events and more frequently coming into next year, because I think this will be the last one now, apart from the online one, until finals. So once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this breakdown of Red Yellow Syn. If you have any questions, once again, drop them down below. Like the video if you do enjoy it, and subscribe as well if you're not already. And I'll see you in the next video, which hopefully should be a proper breakdown, because I'm still waiting for the information to do an actual breakdown of the full London to that Spanish standard, the Spanish set, which is fantastic. Once again, thank you for watching, and see you in a bit. Bye for now.